But essentially, these are just little extra incentives that Tamron likes to do for our events, up to $50 on select lenses. Most of our lenses are on there, I think. There's a couple of the newer ones that may not be, but pretty much almost all of our lenses are on there for either 25 or $50 extra off. And as Mike said, those stack on top of any instant rebates or any discount that Gary may be offering from Hunts. So if you had a lens in mind that you were thinking of, or love Armando's presentation so much that you just have to buy a new Tamron lens because he told you to, then you can get yourself a little bit of an extra discount on it. Those are only valid through purchases through Hunts and only until July 20th. So that's my spiel. Armando, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off and start the presentation. There we go. Okay. So anyway, tonight we are going to be talking about national parks, going to a national park. I've been with Tamara for about 12 years now, and I've had the opportunity to go to quite a few of them. And there's always something to share when you go to one of those. But as I like to call it, a guide to better landscape and nature images. So once again, my name is Armando Flores. I've been with Tamron 12 years now, a little over 12 years. Before Tamron, I did a stint at Sony, about 5.5 years. And before Sony, I was with Nikon for just shy of 22 years. So I've been doing this for a little bit of time. But there's always things to consider every time I go out to shoot something somewhere. When it comes to national parks, there's always a little bit of research that needs to be had because, maybe there's something new, some new rules, some new guidelines that you can, do's and don'ts, things of that nature. So it's always good to look at the websites and figure out things. Also, you can get an idea of what it is that you may want to go photograph. You'll see some images there as well to maybe guide you and inspire you. There are, also state parks that are worth going to as well. We're going to be talking about gear, lenses, scouting the location. I like to do a thing called use my eyes before I use my camera. There's always light to consider, a direction of light, type of light. And I do this little thing called constructing an image. In other words, take a picture, look at the back of the screen, see what you've got, and then see how you can enhance it and make it a little bit better. I believe I heard that you're having someone give you a talk on panoramas, creating panoramas and stacking images and stitching images. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that. Most of it is just going to be, things that you can do, and just go ahead and do it. Don't think about it too much. It's a digital camera. It's not like it's film, especially slide film, where everything had to be spot on. Nowadays, you look at the back of the screen, especially on a mirrorless camera. If it's too dark, it's underexposed. If it's too bright, it's overexposed. And if the color's off, then guess what? Your white balance is off. So it does make things a lot easier. And of course, with the internet, research couldn't be any easier. You can find out everything that you need to know before you even get there. That way, there are no surprises. Things to consider at a national park, obviously, is what are we going to photograph? There are many types of national parks, and each one has a little, I like to call it a little specialty. There's something that is nice about this park versus the other park. Some of them lend themselves very well to landscapes. Others will lend themselves better to wildlife. And some will do even better job than others when it comes to night sky photography. But with the internet and doing your research, you can figure out the terrain. How difficult is it going to be to get there, and things of that nature. Some national parks will also have memorials, so that might be something worth visiting or taking pictures of. And once again, don't forget about the state parks because they also have a lot more to offer. Now, when it comes to planning one of these trips, there's a few details that we should consider as well. And to me, those details are like, what time does the sun rise or what time does the sun set at this particular location? And also the direction, where is it going to set? Where is it going to rise? That also could be very important. And like I mentioned, how easy is it going to be to access this particular location? Is there going to be a little bit of hike? Do you need to, add an additional time to getting there? In some cases, you might need to hike for, several hours to get to that particular location. Or, you can find out if there are going to be any permits required once you get there. Weather, that's also very important. I mean, that could turn on a dime and go south very easily. So tracking the weather would be actually a pretty good idea. And when you're planning your shoot, especially if you're doing night sky photography, there are also a few more things that you might need to consider. For example, maybe perhaps you need to take an extra layer of clothing with you, or two, depending on what park it is that you're going to visit. Also, what's the best time to go out and start capturing those night sky photography images? If you're going to photograph wildlife, you may consider their behavior and how and you might want to be staying at a very safe distance from them. The good thing about research is that you can do as much research as you can, and also there are a lot of applications that you can download to your cell phone before you even get there. That way you can get familiar with them. There are, of course, weather apps. There's a ton of them out there. Do a little bit of research. There is one that is actually very robust, and that is PhotoPills. It is an app that you do pay for, but it really is well worth it because it does just about everything you're going to need it to do. Another thing that I always consider is, what am I going to take? Once I do my research, I figure out where it is that I'm going to go, and that gives me an idea of what lenses or what equipment I might need to take, as well as accessories. So make sure you consider those things. Now, even choosing the right camera bag is very important. And the reason is because maybe perhaps there are paths and you may want to consider something that is a lot more portable or something that will allow you to take a little more gear than you normally would. If there's a path or walkway, maybe you want to consider a roller bag. But, for the most part, backpacks are always the best choice. Now, for me, I like to carry a comfortable and compact backpack. One that is configurable. In other words, I can configure this bag until I get tired. In other words, if I'm going to a particular location and I'm mostly taking smaller, lighter lenses, I may consider putting in the small pouches. If I'm doing some wildlife, I may consider a larger pouch. The beauty about the bag that I like to use is that I can configure it any way that I like. I can also put a smaller bag inside the backpack so that once I get to the location, I can pull that bag out and then just carry the essentials for that particular shoot, maybe for that afternoon or, that early morning shoot that I want. I don't have to take the whole backpack with me, just a small bag. One thing that I do recommend is don't try to pack all of the gear that you own and take it with you. Just what you think might be essential is usually the best way to go. And maybe just, one or two other items that you may want to consider using or testing out for that particular shoot. Now, when it comes to gear, obviously, lenses are going to be very important. And wide angle zoom lenses, for the most part, in our line of business is They are very versatile, and wide angle lenses are great for those very large vistas. Those lenses are great for in very tight places when you want to make things that are small appear larger than they really are. Now, this is Arches National Park, and that is that rock structure. I believe it's called the courthouse. It is a very large rock formation, and as you know, Arches National Park does not have a lake. This is actually a small puddle, but getting down at a low angle with a really wide angle lens will make things look larger than they really are. And when you go to these very tight places where these locations where you don't have a lot maneuver yourself around, wide angle lenses are the best choice. And for night sky photography as well. Night sky photography, we usually want to capture as much of the night sky as we can, capture with, with a lens. So ultra wide angle lenses are great for that. Normal to standard zoom lenses. That is another category of lenses that are great for, they're great for most everyday photography. In fact, 70% of the pictures that we normally take are taken with the normal to standard zoom lens, in that standard zoom lens range, from about 24 millimeter to about 105 millimeter usually. These are great for landscapes that are maybe perhaps a little bit smaller, or when you want to show a little more detail. Now, the telephoto lens is usually better for wildlife, sports, and sure, some landscapes. All-in-one zoom lenses, those lenses are great for just about everything. They go from wide angle to telephoto. When you want to keep things simple, where you don't want to take too many lenses, or you just want to, walk around easily with one lens. These are suitable for all types of photography. Once again, they are the most versatile lenses that you can use. And some of them have a very good minimum object distance. In other words, you can get very close to the subject and even use them like you would a macro lens. Other accessories that you may want to consider are filters. Now, for digital photography, there are really two filters to consider. Back in the film days, of course, I had to travel with a separate small pouch full of filters because I had to correct the light before it came through the lens. But with digital photography, all you need is a circular polarizing filter, which is basically to eliminate glare off of non-metallic surfaces when you want to see through the water, or you want to look through glass and see what's behind there and you want to photograph that. It also enhances the colors. And neutral density filters are basically, they enable you to use slower shutter speeds in bright sunlight so that you can get those slow moving subjects that you normally wouldn't be able to with in that lighting condition. Another accessory to consider is a tripod for those very slow shutter speeds where we physically can't handhold the camera and the lens. Another accessory that travels with me all the time is a flashlight. Now, flashlights, obviously, to light the way, but also to enhance an image, to do a little bit of light painting. One thing that I do always consider is, getting there early and scouting out the location, especially if I'm doing night sky photography. This allows me to get my bearings and figure out where it is that I'm going to set up for that night shoot. Sometimes the location that we want doesn't really work out, so we scout around and we find the perfect location. Using the app on the phone, if I'm doing night sky photography, Milky Way photography, what I do is open up the app and it will tell me what time the galactic core will be visible and at what angle and at what position. This enables me to find the right place so that when it does get dark, it makes things a little bit easier for me. And by adding a little bit of light, I can also enhance that image. Now, I like to do a thing called using my eyes before I use the camera. The reason is I can look at the entire scene and then figure out what it is that I want to photograph. Because if you bring the camera up to your eye, what's going to happen is you're going to be viewing like if you're viewing the scene through a tunnel. It really doesn't allow you to take in the entire vista so that you can figure out what it is that you want to capture. I like to walk around, figure out what is going to be the best spot and best angle to shoot that particular image. Also, when we're photographing, we also want to consider the light or the lighting conditions that we're going to be, shooting under, so that we can position ourselves in the right spot. So after finding that angle, that position, making a few adjustments, and then keep shooting while this is happening, and then wait for the right shot. Sometimes we get there early and we have to just simply wait for the light. The difference can only be a few minutes, or it could be a little bit longer than that. And then a few more minutes, the conditions change a little bit and they turn for the better. Other things to consider is photographing night sky. Are you going to photograph under a new moon? Or are you going to photograph under a full moon? Directional light is also very important. Light from the right side, light from the left side, diffuse light, overcast skies. Now, when constructing an image, there's also a few things to consider. Do you want to isolate the subject, or do you want to include things around your subject? Using lines, using patterns, compositional emphasis, color tone placements, light and dark relationships as well. To isolate your subject, take a wide angle lens and capture that wide vista. Zoom in to capture a smaller section of that particular setting. Using walkways or pathways as leading lines. And also adjusting your composition by simply shifting or zooming in or out. Using light and dark elements in the image. Also working with the composition. Letting your eye go from a bright area to a slightly darker area to a much brighter area. Also going from light to dark or dark to light. One thing to remember is that the human eye will always go to the brightest part of an image. Brightest part, sharpest part. And if there's an animal or a human involved, the eye, of course. You can also use slow shutter speeds as a compositional element. You can include a human element, or just simply add a little bit of color. Now, I'm in Arches National Park one day, and I'm shooting with a 70-200. It's cloudy, and I'm walking around taking pictures. As the sky starts getting darker, I start thinking about what it is that I'm going to do in the next 15 to 30 minutes. But I keep shooting. And then once the storm approaches, it starts rolling over the valley. Hop in the vehicle, find a better vantage point, and start thinking about the next take. So as the storm rolled over, I knew that the water was going to hit the rocks. They were going to start glistening. So I start thinking about the image that I want to capture. So found the place, got my composition ready, and then I saw that maybe perhaps I needed to add a human element to this. So cars, as the cars start leaving the valley, I then noticed that little turnoff right there. First, there was way too many vehicles. Then I figured, you know what? I need to wait and see if I can get just one vehicle at the little turnout. And then a few minutes later, there was. But all along when this was happening, I had already thought about what the final image was going to be. And I knew I was going to desaturate it and turn it into a black and white. Also, another thing to consider is maybe perhaps creating panorama. Now, wide angle lenses are great for landscapes. However, what happens is that they make your subject look a lot smaller. So by stitching a panorama, you can keep your subject a much larger, and you can still keep a lot more detail. So by stacking multiple images and stitching them together, with some software, you can go ahead, you can get an image that has a lot more detail than one single shot with a wide angle lens. What you do need to consider when shooting a panorama before you stitch a panorama is you need to consider a starting point. What direction are you going to start from, right to left or left to right? Then what you need to do is you need to overlap each image by about 30%. Now, using Photoshop or a stitching software, there are many different choices out there. Lightroom can do it, Auto Stitch, GigaPan, Stitch, and there's quite a few more. If you're considering doing panorama stitching, there are accessories that will help you do it much easier. A good panel ball head or panoramic ball head with a bracket for a so you can find your nodal point. So after you've done all your research and you're there and you found the right spot to photograph in, the one thing I'd like to say is don't overthink it too much. Just simply go out there and do it. On one trip a while back, I was in the back of a vehicle as my two colleagues were driving down the road. We were all pretty tired. We had been doing this for a few days, and I simply decided to see what was behind me. And this light just started to appear. Now, we knew that this wasn't going to last very long. So what we did is simply we stopped as quickly as we could on a side patch of dirt, really. We scrambled out of the car. So at that moment, you start thinking, well, what lens? Well, isn't going to last very long. So whatever lens is on the camera is what I thought. I happen to have a 24 to 70 on my camera. My other colleague had a 70 to 200, and the other one had a 28 to 300. So we simply started shooting with whatever it is that we had. I shot the first picture, looked at the back of the image, and said, what is it that I want to include? What do I want to subtract? So I start playing with with the zoom, wider shot, much wider shot than that. And then I decided, well, this is probably going to be the best angle for what I want to capture. So after I decided what image I was going to select, I simply later on in post decided to desaturate it. So it's a give and take, color or black and white, I think. Either one. So once again, a few things to consider is researching before you go out there. That way you can find out as much detail as you can about that particular uh, park that you want to go to. Consider maybe a shorter trip to a state park instead of a national park. One thing that I've noticed that it has been getting a lot more crowded at these national parks. Uh, there was a time where you can get there and you would have you maybe perhaps you were the first one there, but nowadays I last few times I've been out, we've been surrounded by 15, 20 people. So it's a good idea to research and see when you might be able to have the best opportunities to shoot. Maybe not during the peak season, but maybe the off season. Um, if you've been to that place before, you probably already know the location, so you know what to expect. But still, maybe perhaps looking at that particular place with a different eye. In other words, maybe perhaps a different lens. Consider what you pack. When you do your research, you might get a better idea as to what lenses you may want to take with you or what you want to use. Getting there early, giving yourself a little extra time always goes a long way, especially with the weather. We cannot control the weather, but if you give yourself a little time, if something doesn't work out, uh, or maybe perhaps you find something that is maybe a little more interesting to you, giving yourself a little extra time always goes a long way. And once again, look at the scene with your eyes before you use the camera. And the light, well, the light is always one of those things sometimes we have good luck and sometimes we don't. I've been to uh, let's say Arches National Park multiple times and the Grand Tetons also multiple times. And I don't always come back with the images that I like because the lighting just wasn't right or wasn't what I was expecting it to be like. And once again, just don't think about it too much. I mean, it is a digital camera. You can get a good idea of what it is that what your final result is going to be just by looking at the back of the screen. Any questions?
Yeah, Armando, someone had a question on the grand prismatic shot, if that was a single exposure or if it was a blended stacked image. When,
Single exposure.
yeah, thought so.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of image stacking. It's just one and done, basically. I've played with some HDR, but not really. Just one and done.
I have a question about the all-in-ones, the
Yes.
18400 in particular. Are
Mhm.
there any disadvantages to a one-size-fits-all lens? Um,
Yes,
so,
there's always going to be a sacrifice when we're talking about an all-in-one. They're usually not the fastest lenses. You do
okay,
sacrifice aperture. It is going always to be a variable aperture lens, you know, and you do sacrifice a little bit of image quality. You've got a lens going from wide angle to telephoto. In the 18 to 400 case is a super telephoto. So there are going to be some trade-offs, but from what I've seen and what I've used, they definitely have enough resolution for the cameras that I'm using.
I have a
okay, thank you.
question. I have a question.
Mhm.
Have you been to a national park that's not as popular as, say, Yellowstone, the Tetons, those? Maybe it's the best kept secret that you went and you weren't overrun with crowds, but you were able to get some really nice images.
I can tell you one thing. 6, 7 years ago, that was true. But nowadays, the national parks are so overrun that you're always going to be there with at least 20, 30 of your best friends that you don't even know yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question, if I may. Um, do you, what happens when you have this terrain that's kind of flat? I'm in the East Coast. We have this
Mhm.
Chesapeake Bay, and there's not a lot of mountains or undulating ground in the local area. A lot of water, but the bay is flat and not very exciting. Um, any recommendations? And the second question is, what was the camera bag you used? Over. Thank you.
The camera brand the camera bag brand that I use.
Yeah, the brand and model. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was the Think Tank. Um, that was their let me see. That was their not their shift. That hold on and give me a second, and I'll grab that for you. As far as the first part of that question, maybe perhaps a different angle. When the subject is very flat and not very, how can I say, not a lot to it. Maybe trying a different angle, lower angle, higher angle. That's basically what I mean. And always better lighting will make it a little more interesting. And maybe a early morning you know light or a late afternoon light.
Thank you.
Armando, do you know of any photography restrictions at national parks that people should be aware of?
Oh yes, yes, many, and they keep coming up with them. Arches, for example, which I've been to at least half a dozen times. Lately, they won't allow you to paint with light any longer.
Mm.
No use of flashlights, which is terrible because that's one of the best places that you can actually paint with light. The way you can get around it, I've noticed, is that the very last couple of times I was there, people will drive in and their headlights will hit the rock structure, the rock formation. And you can use that because they're painting it for you. Obviously, you're not going to get the best lighting that you want. You may not be able to control a lot of it, but gives you an idea. Sometimes people don't adhere to the rules. They will be painting, so you could take advantage of what they're doing without you breaking the rules. I've tried that as well, and that seems to work. As far as the bag, that is the Think Tank shape shifter, the naked shape shifter. In other words, there are no pouches inside, so that you can buy the different size pouches and you can configure it the way you want. And they also have one that is not naked; it has pouches already, but they're the same size. And if you take, like I do, each trip will require me to take a different set of lenses. You're stuck with whatever bags or pouches are built in.
Do you ever go back to film after you've shot something in digital and you figured out the f-stop, the lighting, everything? Do you flip to a film camera of your old love? Over.
Uh, well, yeah, if, I still own about, oh gosh, maybe 8 to 10 film cameras. And to be honest with you, the last time I picked up a film camera was because I had to. I was working red carpet, the Oscars for AMPAS for the Oscars, and Kodak, for whatever reason, wanted film. So they gave me a Nikon F6 and a brick of film that I had to use for the red carpet. I never saw a negative. They just simply took the film from me, and that was it. And all they were going to do is develop the film and archive it. But I've been getting, my kids, I've got two kids that are into photography and they do shoot film and they've kind of sort of, you know, given me that little itch to go out and put a roll of film through a camera. So I'm definitely going to do it within the next month or two.
Armando, the older I get, the less I want to hike 5 or 6 miles with a backpack.
Yes.
Are there parks that you find that are easier access, perhaps from driving standpoints, where it's a shorter walk and you can still have some nice, impactful photos you could take? Some that you would
Oh,
recommend?
definitely. Let's see. Bryce is one of them. Have parking lots very close. Uh, doesn't require you to do a lot of hiking.
Come up to
Zion,
Acadia.
Zion as well. You don't have to do a lot of hiking for a lot of the places. Some you do. Angel's Landing, you will have to do a little bit of hiking, but just about everything else is pretty accessible. Let's see what else. Arches too. I mean, the only really real long hike that you would have to do is to Delicate Arch. That's about a mile and a half hike. So there are,
The Tetons seem to have a lot of availability from the roadside.
yes, yes, Tetons. If you go to More Monroe, I mean, you can literally park like maybe 20 yards away from where you're going to be shooting. So yeah, there's a lot of places that are very accessible. The only real long hikes that I've done, but they were self-inflicted. I went to Peru for a trade show for Tamron, and then I spent 3 days in Cusco, and then one day in Aguascalientes. I went to Machu Picchu, and I decided to do the 1 day hike. So you wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, they pick you up, take you to the train station. The train drops you off, makes it stop nowhere at 110 kilometers. You get off the train, and then you walk for about 10 and a half miles, over rough terrain and so on and so forth. It was definitely worth the adventure, to be honest with you, but it was pretty rough.
Looks like a comment in the chat there from Tammy.
Yeah, Tammy's asking, where was the lighthouse? And is the shooting point easy to get to?
Yeah, that lighthouse was in um that was in well, that was one of the, remember that lighthouse tour that we had to do. Gosh, it was in
Oh,
Maine.
about out of Bar
It was
Harbor?
in Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
Maine. Yeah, in Bar Harbor. That's the only lighthouse I saw that had a red light, and I
Oh,
thought,
is that Bass Head?
okay, yeah, that was the only one with the
Probably.
red light. I thought
Bass
that was
Harbor.
interesting. Yeah, it was easy to get to. Parking lot was probably 100 yards away, 150 yards away. It wasn't far at all.
Is the easternmost lighthouse in the US.
Ah, there you go. See, Andrew's from that area. He would know more than I do.
Yeah, that one's good. And Portland Head Light also down in Portland, Maine, or south of Portland, Maine, is super accessible. There's a lot of really accessible lighthouses in the Northeast.
You mentioned Acadia Park. Tell us a little bit about that and a good time of year to come.
Yeah, so Acadia is beautiful. And as far as I know, the only national park in the Northeast. So it's up in Maine, Bar Harbor Island, or Desert Island, Maine. And yeah, it's got a really nice like carriage road that goes around through it. And so a lot of the shore of the island is very rocky, but there's lots of little pull-offs that you can stop and park, and various different walkways down to the shore. And plenty of great photo opportunities, sunset, sunrise, Milky Way. Depending on, I mean, really, there's no bad time to go. Bar Harbor pretty much shuts down in the winter, but I mean, it doesn't actually shut down. There's just almost nobody there. But Acadia is it's a totally different experience in the wintertime. The park road itself is closed, I think, but it's kind of neat to be up there because you're kind of all by yourself. But I mean, the best time to go is fall, just because of the foliage in the park is beautiful, but it's also the worst time to go as far as tourism goes. Um, but yeah, Cadillac Mountain, you can go up, drive up to top of Cadillac and shoot the sunrise up there. Get the first light hitting the US in the morning. It's a
Yeah, I
cool.
concur with that. We've been there. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful place.
it is a beautiful park. I love Acadia. I live in Massachusetts, so it's about a 7 hour drive for me. But I go up there every other year or so.
Any specific months for the leaves changing?
Up there it's a little earlier, so it's probably like September, late September. It really depends on what the summer's like, and how much rain there's been. But yeah, late September, early October.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a multiple answer question for both of you. And you cannot say Yellowstone or the Tetons. What's the favorite park you've been to? What's the worst park you've been to? And what's the one park you haven't done you wished you had done so far?
Hmm. Well, I have not done Acadia. Uh, Andrew and I were scheduled to do an event there a few years back, and it was canceled. So I was really looking forward to it, especially night sky photography. So I would have to be, that's one that I do want to go back to, or want to go to, period, because I haven't been. Yeah, I've seen a lot of images from there, especially Milky Way, and they look, you know, beautiful. So one of the places that I definitely want to go. One that I thought that didn't offer a lot for me for what I wanted to do was Canyonlands, which is right next to Arches. For me, Arches offered definitely a lot more than Canyonlands did. So I would have to say, out of the parks that I've been to, probably the least would be Canyonlands, and then Acadia is one on my list.
And your favorite?
My favorite,
Not named Yellowstone or Tetons.
right? I would have to say Arches for me. Been there like a half dozen times at least, and it doesn't get boring. There's always something that I haven't shot, something that I forgot to do. You always like, oh yeah, I'll go there again for sure.
Andrew, how about you?
Oh man, the list of the ones I want to go to is very long because I shamefully haven't been to a ton of national parks. I've been to Acadia a number of times just because of proximity, and love it. Um, I got the opportunity to go to New Mexico to Bosque del Apache, um, and shoot snow cranes or sandhill cranes and snow geese out there. And that was pretty magical. Um, but I'd say the one place that I really want to go would be Glacier. I've been skiing in Montana. I love Montana. I think it's beautiful, and but never been up to Glacier National Park, and would like to get there before the glaciers are gone completely.
How about Glacier Bay?
Sure, I'll take any glaciers wherever they are.
You have any hints on glaciers? Seems like they're kind of hard to focus. Light isn't always good. Uh, I sometimes use black and white JPEG to help manual focus.
Yeah, that's a good trick. It's a good trick. Yeah, definitely overexpose a little bit. You know, all that light throws your meter off.
Would you do much in the way of exposure bracketing around glaciers?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, especially if you're shooting digital, you know, and you're not bound by 24 or 36 exposures. Yeah, if you've got a large memory card, then yeah, bracketing definitely is a savior.
Anybody else questions from the group? Means you did a really good job, Armando. Andrew, anything else about Tamron lenses? Something coming out we might not know about, or hot lens that you're seeing everybody's really interested in? I know that I played around with a was it 150 to 500? I was at a Florida
Yep.
conference.
Yeah, 150 to 500. You know, a sleeper lens in that same vein, we make a 50 to 400. And you know,
I take
if
it back. That's what I picked up. It was
yeah, the 50 to
fairly new on the
400
market.
is a lot of people overlook it because we have a 150 to 500, but I much prefer the 50 to 400. I find it's a lot lighter and easier to carry around, easier to hand hold. But it also from 50 to 70 millimeter is a 1 to 2 macro, so it'll give you a half life size imagery production. And I've done some of my best close-up photography with that 50 to 400. It's
It
just it's an outstanding lens.
it's definitely my favorite telephoto.
Yeah.
That's the one that if I'm going to take a long telephoto lens, that's the first one I grab. It is sharp. I use it on an R4, 61 megapixel. It's got more resolution than the camera can throw at it. It's a great lens.
Yeah, it's a sleeper. And then as far as something new, can't talk about it yet, but keep your eye out on our social media page on Wednesday.
Yeah, next few
And
days.
there will be something very exciting on Wednesday.
Yep. I am very excited to talk about it. I can't let you know, but I'm very excited to talk it up.
Well, you have us thoroughly intrigued now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely check the webpage on
Something that's been missing from our lineup for a while. So it'll be great to have that in the lineup.
yeah, the funny thing is that the lens that this is kind of sort of going to replace, I kept it in my possession even after Tamron requested me to send it back 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I just sent it back last week.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. Keep your eyes open.
Well, all right, folks. We appreciate the presentation. It was very informative. Saw a lot of images of places I've been, but did not get near that great a photograph from. So thank you, Armando, for sharing your portfolio with us. For the membership, we'll meet again on the 27th. Don't forget Weebits on the 21st next week. And yeah, the guy doing the stitching and photo stacking is me. So Carrie and Tammy will probably have me go early for those who want to tune in late. But we'll see how it works out. That's it for tonight. We thank you for being with us and have a great week, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks all. Have
everyone.
a good night.
Thank you.